dating and relationship expert Kimberly Loveland. Today I wanted to talk about a really great way to get to know somebody. And it doesn't matter, I mean, this is a great way to get to know a man, but it's also a good way to, you can test this on your friends and kind of see how it works on them. And if you haven't heard of this, this is called the Sufi Cube game. The reason I found out about it is I love the movie Serendipity. If you haven't seen it, it's fantastic. But it's an older movie, and I finally was like, I really want this. And I couldn't find anywhere to buy it online, like the digital version of it. So I was like, all right. So I went to the discount store, and I happened to find it. I was like, yay, they have a copy. And I was watching the DVD, and I watched the deleted scenes. And in the deleted scenes, she asks him, have you ever been cubed? And he's like, no. And then she goes into it, and she does this little game with him. And basically, it's a great way to kind of see into somebody and see their inner soul and kind of what they're about. So you can also Google it. There's many different versions out there on the internet as well that will kind of explain it to you. I'll try to find one and link it below for you as well. But basically it starts out, and once you do this, by the way, with somebody, you can't do it again because now they know what the jig is with it. So let's say you're doing this on a friend, and I recommend it because you can kind of gauge it with the friends first before you try it on your potential dates. And it is being in masculine energy in a way because you're asking the questions, but I feel like especially when you're talking on the phone, trying to get to know somebody before you go on a date with them, this is a great way to kind of gauge their character. And I'll kind of share one that was like way out there for me, that of this guy that I had talked to. So that starts out, you tell the person, all right, they're walking through the desert all around, and there is a cube, and you want them to describe the cube. What's the cube made of? Is it sitting in the sand, or is it hovering above the sand? Like, where in relation is it to the sand? What material is it made of? How big is it? And then they're going to describe it for you. Okay, so you got to remember what they described. The next part of it, and I'm going to go over what this all means in a minute. The next part of it is you say, okay, now that you've described the cube, there's a ladder, and it's the same thing. Where in relation to the cube is the ladder? What kind of material is the ladder made from? So how are they in relation with each other? Okay, so then they're going to describe the ladder to you and where it is in relation to the cube, like what it's made out of, how big the ladder is, etc. The next part of this is there's a horse. Now, what does the horse look like? Where is the horse in relation to the ladder and the cube? And what is the horse doing? That kind of thing. Okay? Then the next part of it is you're going to have them describe, okay, there's flowers. How many flowers, or are there flowers? And how many flowers are there, and where are they in relation? Okay, the next thing is, and this one I'm a little bit foggy of, but hopefully it'll have it on the link below, is there is a storm, and where is it in relation? Is it off in the distance? Is it close by? What kind of describing the storm? And then once you have them do all this, and you've taken all this and you can explain it to them. So the cube represents us. So it would represent them and how they see themselves. So typically, if someone's cube is in the sand, it's actually like laying in the sand, that means they're a very grounded person. If it's up above hovering, their head's kind of up in the clouds, they're like more of a dreamer. If it's, depending on what it's made out of, you can kind of interpret that. But the size of it also matters, because the bigger the cube, the bigger the ego. So if they have a smaller cube, then they don't have as big of an ego. But you also got to relate it to self-confidence as well. So you don't want them to have a minuscule cube, because then they probably don't have very much self-confidence. But you also don't want to be a big cube, because you don't want it to be full of ego. Now the ladder in this represents friends and how they keep their friends. Like, are their friends dependable? Like, is it a metal ladder? What's the ladder made of? And how close is that ladder touching? Like, do they need to have their friends there to lean on? Is the ladder right up next to it? Or is the ladder close by? That means they keep their friends close by. Or is the ladder way out there, meaning, well, they really don't have very many friends and they're like really far out there. Now, are you getting the idea of this? Now, the horse is their potential romantic partner and how they see them. So, do they see a workhorse? Do they see a beautiful horse? What is it that they see in this horse? And then how close is the horse? Meaning, like, how close is their intimacy level? If it's close to the cube, then that means that they have a good intimacy level. If it's way far out there, they kind of want to keep their romantic partner, at arm's distance. Now, the flowers represent children, so the more flowers, the more children that they want to have. Or if they don't see any flowers, they probably don't really want children. The storm is kind of like, the turmoil in their lives and how close or how far that is and how deep that storm is. That's kind of the idea. That one I'm a little foggier on, but that's kind of the idea behind it. So you can really gauge, and I've done this with a lot of my friends, and I've kind of found that whatever they describe really truly does fit them. It really does. One guy that I will tell you, this one was way out there. And I usually, when I do it with guys, I usually do especially the first three, which would be the cube, the ladder, and the horse. And with this guy, wow, his cube was big, it was multicolored, and it was hovering above the sand. And I don't remember what his ladder had to do, what that was, but his romantic partner was a unicorn. So you can see in this, when you interpret it, that, okay, so nobody's going to meet a unicorn. Nobody's going to be a unicorn because unicorns don't exist. So when they're thinking mythological wise of something that doesn't exist, not the actual horse, but a unicorn. So yeah, I was like, I don't know about this guy, but I'm still going to go out on a date with him because I'm curious. And it ended up being that we had planned to talk about a date, and he was going to call me back. And when he called me back, unfortunately, it was just a bad time. I probably should have answered the phone, but I was eating, but it did end up telling me a lot. I was eating, so I was distracted. And, so he's like, all right, let's do whatever it was we were going to go do on the date, whatever day and time. And then he called me back a few minutes later. Or no, he didn't call me back. That's right. He texted me because he didn't call me back. He texted me. And he was like, your energy felt different. It's like, well, I was eating. That's all it was. I was eating. And maybe I wasn't enthusiastic because I was just being in the moment and eating. So, yeah, so I probably bit a bullet there. But, who knows? But this is something that I feel is a great way, ladies, and men too, to get to know your potential date and, how they see themselves as the cube, how they represent themselves, how they see their friends and where their friends are important to them, are they close to them, how they see their potential partner, with however they see the horse, the children, the storm. So I hope that has helped you and at least entertained you, because now you can do this with your friends as well. So until next time, bye.